Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video I continue on with the this season's fantasy preview for all the sides. We were up to the third side in the Sydney Swans. This one's probably going to be a little bit longer as one, it's my side alongside the fact that they do have that interesting round zero, alongside the fact that they have brought in a couple guys that are actually very interesting, and I'm not even going to talk in depth about James Jordan as well, because I don't know specifically much about him and where he'll fit in, to be honest with you. But there is just interest in Adams as well as Brodie Grundy, so it'll be interesting to see how those guys go. But before we get into this video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload, and let's get into this video. So as you can see here, I've got the Swans, a couple favoured from them. We've got only Sheldrick 1, Brodie Grundy 2, and Adams 3, Isaac Heaney 4. Isaac Heaney was one that was brought up in the Twitter comments for the that post that I made. If I just go over to it here, let's go here, down, and it was somewhere here, no, not there. Here we go, and I believe it was mentioned somewhere here. Where is it? Frio, Isaac Heaney from Brisbane Bloods Fantasy. Yep, and so we'll grab into him when we get down to him. But anyway, let's get into Errol Goulden and the rise of the Errol. And the only reason I don't think he'll be as picked this year is just because of that early buy, and at 1.02 million you can almost split him with another 800k. Like you can take a punt on Newcomb, you can take a punt on like a Jason Horne-Francis, or someone in the 700kers like an Amon or something like that, alongside getting another 800k in the likes of a LDU or something like that, instead of like an Errol and like a Jason Horne-Francis or something like that. You can take two punts on premiums that are going to go up, rather than having to take a punt on a massive premium with an early buy, and then also take a punt on the like a Jason Horne-Francis, because Errol will probably score 115 or somewhere around there, but you're burning about, with that early buy, you're probably burning, I would say 80 points, 70 points just there. Whereas you can take a punt on a guy and probably get more cash gen and split the cash better from guys like LDU, Newcomb and stuff like that, and you can have almost two premiums rather than an Uber premium and a mid-pricer. So that's just my thoughts with that. And yeah, he definitely has the potential to be a Brownlow favourite and to be one of the best scoring mid this year, as he is. He did do that last year as well. He did have the last 10 rounds of 23 Brownlow votes, which I believe was the most. And then if you actually look at his scoring, which will go down here, and I did the math for a pre-video, he averaged 122.5 in the last 10 rounds of the season, which I'm pretty sure is one of the best out there. I don't think Inglis or anyone out there, I think maybe Butters might have got close with him, but I don't think he did. And I'll have to work that out when we get down to Butters. I don't think Bont might have ran him close, but I think Bont had one or two iffy games that didn't allow it. Whereas, as you can see here with Errol Goulden, he put up a 145, a 142, a 132, a 142 here as well as 126, 126, 128. And he had basically 3 bad games in that. Imagine if those bad games were like hundreds as well, and he went on a 10-game 100 run. You would be looking at him and he would be probably priced at about 116, 117, which would be around that, I believe, 1.06, 1.07 mil. So yeah, there's that. But I think Errol Goulden is a guy that you got to miss this year just because of that early buy, which is a stinker, but it'll be fun to see him. It's not like, and the problem with him is that there are a lot different options in the midfield, whereas like a guy like Dacos in the back line, it's down about 10 points or whatever compared to the midfielders. So Dacos is one that could easily get away from you at that price, and you almost are losing a lot more points in the back line comparatively to the midfield, where Goulden will probably have guys like Butters, Bonts, Merritt, Parrish, and some like 3 or 4 other guys that will go roughly around that price range that don't have that early buy. And then you've got the next guy up is Chad Warner. And this is an interesting one with Mills out. I think it will help Warner's scoring. We have seen him go from a 27 to a 69 to an 89 and then to a 93. Will be interesting to see, but I reckon he's more of that guy that is an outside runner rather than in the contest where you have guys like Mills, Parker, Rowbottom, Sheldrick, which we'll get to, Adams, which we'll get to, as well as guys coming through like potentially Cleary in a little bit. So he should be like Golden. You want him in that half a yard full of space, as he's got a really good couple steps out of the contest in terms of speed wise. And when he gets away, he's almost uncatchable. So I reckon he's better on the outside rather than the inside. So it'll be interesting to see his role with Mills out potentially. He still gets that midfield time, like in the guts. Well, obviously he'll be in the guts, but more of that on ball rather than off the play a little bit to be able to run onto it on the outside. And then you also got to take into account that he is a guy that we're sort of taking a punt on to go from 93 to like a 105, but he has that early bye, which if you stuff it up here, you're gonna fall you're gonna burn yourself about 150, 200 points. So I think just the risk with Chad Warner is far too risky, and he's just a guy, if he does well in the opening couple rounds, he has that round 5 bye, so he'll have 5 games worth of price rises there. He could be a guy that you look at to upgrade to come round 6, round 7 when you start getting into upgrade season, as he will have probably still be around that 900k, as he is priced, I believe, what's he priced at actually looking at this? He's priced at 837, so the highest I see him really rising to is about 920, 930 if he gets off to a flyer. So yeah, you're still going to be able to grab him off that like mid-pricer or that sort of rookie scorer if you maybe, and he might even get forward status. That's the only way I really find him getting valuable, is him or Parker or someone like that getting forward status, which could be interesting, especially when Mills returns, and Mills could even get defender status. There's too many midfielders in there, and one of them's going to get the dual position. It's just whether it's going to be a defender or a forward that gets it. But I think Chad Warner's one to definitely stay away from early, as I think he's just not going to get that upside that we really see with that log-jammed midfield. Next up is the requested Isaac Heaney, and this one is actually interesting because when I initially did my stuff about Isaac, I had basically no thoughts about him. I didn't think he would be that valuable. I didn't think there was going to be that sort of swing and any hope for him. And but when you actually think about it, what is he priced at here? Let's just look here. He's priced at 722k. If we look at actually, and we swing this around, and we get out of the Sydney Swans, and we go to forwards. If we look at here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's like the 12th or 13th most priced forward, and doesn't that really constitute that he's sort of a forward premium? So if you think about it in that way, he sort of is a primo for the forward line, and you can see he's priced at 80. So he's priced at 80, and that was his basically, obviously 2021 was a little bit worse. 2020 in the pandemic year was a 70.9, and I don't believe I did the numbers for that, but I want to say that's going to be about an 80, it's going to be like an 86 or something like that. When you do the, it's an 88.37 for that 70. So you can see he's gone, if you think about it, 92, 91, 89.8, so that's basically 90, and then an 88, and then a 76, an 89, and then an 80. So he does have potentially upwards of 10 points of upside. I just think he loses that midfield role, so it will be interesting if he can get his sort of shooting boots back on and really contribute with the goals, because that could be where he gets 5 or 6 points of upside, just because he didn't have his shooting boots on. I think he didn't kick too many goals. If I just do, if I go over here, there's an iPad in the way, so just gotta, there we go, that should help. Isaac Heaney stats, and then we just go to here, and we go to 2023, you can just see that downward year with goal kicking. You can see 49 and then a 30 the year after. So it does look like he actually has had the midfield time here, just looking at the disposal discrepancy and how he's getting his points. Here you can see a lot more handballs, 60 more handballs, A lot more marks actually now thinking about it. And then kicking is a little bit down, 40 odd kicks down, which is around 6 points a game. And then, yeah, you can see the disposals are down 90, but he's making it up a little bit in the goals. So, yeah, if he can turn out to be a 40 goal per season forward, he's going to rocket back up and be 10 goals better, which is roughly 3 or so average. And then he'll have another, if he has a better season towards that 2022 season, I could see him averaging 89. So he is one definitely to look at later down the line. I don't think he's one that you can start with because I don't think he has that 95 plus potential. I think he's one that's just going to be that 90 guy that you can punt on potentially if they get the right schedule flip in their favour. Let's look at Isaac Heaney and the schedule. There's no real part of the schedule that I'm looking here that you can punt him on. But we'll know later on in the year how these teams work out. But yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking there's no real schedule part that you can look at. Maybe you can look at in round 15 against the Giants or round 14 against Adelaide. Adelaide, that's going to be tough. So round 15 to round 18 is probably the only section I could think about at the moment that you'd look at bringing in Isaac Heaney, like some people did with Charlie Curnow and Tex Walker at the back end of last year. I think that will be used more, key forwards against the bottom two sides. If you get a run of the bottom four sides in back-to-back weeks, you could do that, and that's the only way I really see Isaac Heaney at the present moment being used. But if he gets back to that 90-95 guy, he could be that F5, F6 role that we need, given that the forward line is basically about 2 midfielders or 3 midfielders, and then forwards that do push up into the midfield with about 20% mid-time. So that's Isaac Heaney talked about, I believe. Yeah, as you can see, his best is that 92, but I believe that was when he was getting more midfield time. And then that 89 back in 2022 when he was an All-Australian, I believe, with 49 goals that we looked at. Priced at 804k. If he was at the 2022 numbers. So there is 80k of upside, but I think he's one that we look at later on in the year post-buy as that sort of filler when we're filling out our sides with the premiums. So it'll be interesting to see with Isaac Heaney. He could also be used during the buys as a player that you sort of trade to just because he's putting up consistent 90-point scorers, especially with the forward line being so bleak. And if we do have I believe there is an exodus of round 15 buys for the forward line yet again for the second straight season. So you could look at him in round 15, 16, 17 and 18 like I was saying. But we'll see with that as that can change across the whole year. As we saw last year, it definitely did change. Next up is Taylor Adams, and this is an interesting one. The thing about him is he can definitely return back to he averaged 76 on a half forward type of role, that 30% midfield time. I just want to, let me duplicate this and find it for you. That is Collingwood. We don't need their ruck contest. We want their CBAs for 2023, Collingwood. And we'll see here, you can see Taylor Adams 39% in 2022. Keep that in mind, 39%. And then we look at 2021 and you can see 65%. And then we look 65%. And then 2021, you'll see again 77%. So 77, 65 and 39%. Then we go over to Taylor Adams here and you can see we said 77, 65, I believe it was, and 39. So you can see he does have a correlation with higher scoring as well as, if you actually look at it now, that 91.5 actually is better off. I believe that 91.5 is around that 108, 109. It is 114 for that 91.5 in that COVID season. So he's gone in his career basically since 2015, 102, 103, 115, 95, 95, 114, 101, 81.5 and 76.5. So it will be interesting to see the role that he gets. If he gets the role at Sydney with a 60% midfield time, I could see him potentially push towards that sort of that 100, not 100, sort of 90 or so range. If we look at his 2022 numbers, you'll see what looks to be an injury game here, as well as is there any other injury games here? I don't think there are any other injury games in there. But yeah, definitely one injury game in. And if you look at that and you take that out, if I just do the quick numbers here, we'll do it that way, and then minus the, what was it, 44, minus 44, divided that by 16. If you take that injury game out, you already get him at 83.4, 83.9. 83.9 is already 8 points of upside, almost on a premium forward. If you think about it that way, at 690k, I think he comes in at. Is it 690k? Taylor Adams, 691k. So it will be interesting to see how he does. It will definitely be around zero watch. A lot of these guys with the Swans, especially Grundy, Adams, and stuff like that, you can look at it around zero and just see how they go, because they obviously have that early buy, etc. But I think these sort of not uber premiums from the Swans and these other round zero buy guys are actually interesting to see, because they could easily get to a premium price by the time that their buy comes, and then you can flip him almost to a guy who's already done their buy or something like that. Or like going, if you go Grundy or Gawn, you can flip him up to English or a Marshall or a Penang Curvis or something like that. You can flip him up to those guys, as they will have that non-buy, and you can make points that way, but you'll have also made the massive cash gen basically from them having a discounted season or something like that, or a disrupted last year with Gawn having Grundy there as well. So there's that. And so Taylor Adams is an interesting one. I think as a forward, he could be that F6 type of guy. It's just the worry about his injuries. If he wasn't an injury type forward, I reckon but you have guys like Zach Fisher off the back flank. You've guys like McRae and Flanders, who should be in the midfield for their respective sides. So it's just trying to find that guy that has that 40 or 50% mid role for that sort of F5, F6 role. And I think Adams could be one if he doesn't get injured, but we'll have to see his round zero splits before we make a decision, as we get to see data basically on that round zero. Moving on to Brodie Grundy, I just need to scroll down a little bit on my notes. Brodie Grundy is the number one selected ruck, basically for a reason. He is, if we scroll down to him, he's below guys like Hayden McLean, who was a key forward / ruckman. He played like 3 games in the ruck, and he got out with a better average, I think. Or is this just, that's on total points. If I do it like this, you'll see. So he is actually slightly worse, I believe, is Hayden McLean. Okay, that's rightly so. And we do it on average. He averaged 75. So even Peter Laddams, who averaged 76. Peter Laddams averaged more than Grundy last year in his slight stints, which just show how underpriced Grundy is. He's 53% owned. I believe that's like 25-30% more owned than the number 2 owned ruck in the whole across the fantasy game this year. And that's just because he's so underpriced on his previous outputs, just given his role last year, as well as the injury impacted 2021 he had with 6 games at 91, I want to say, which doesn't actually take into account because he played 17 games for a 75, which is really, really good. But if you actually look at his numbers here, we go here, you'll see 70, 60, 91, a 101, a 106, a 120, a 122, the 90.9. We did something similar with, it's going to come out to around that 114. Yeah, 113.6 for Brodie Grundy in that 2020. And then a 106, a 93 in an injury year. Did he have an injury in 22? Didn't, but that 54, I don't think that regularly happens for a ruckman of his caliber, so that would be the odd ruckman shocker. But if you look at that actually now, and you take that 54 out, which is very rare to do, 6 times 93.3, so a 560 minus a 54 divided by 5, and you get a 102, 101 in that season if you take out that one bad score, which you can sort of do, given it looks like an outlier. So take out that one score, he's a 101, and then a 106, and then a 113 or something, did we say, and then a 122, 120, 106, 101, and a 91 in 20. We're going back to 2015, 2014 before we get anything resembling a full season of him, or a full enough season of him averaging this low. He is at least 16 points upside, if not 20, if not even 30 points upside, with the way that he is down at 75. If we look at the numbers here, and I'm going to look at my notes now just to tell you, because it's going to, and flick through this. So looking back at the previous 2 years, we have seen him roughly on average go to 42 contests. Where is it here? Melbourne, here you go. That's not the right year, 2023, please. Melbourne, you can see 728 divided by 17 is around 42. And that was in 2022. In 2021 with the Magpies, or if we go to this one, here is it. This is actually his 2019 stats, but 2021, I believe if you look at the numbers, the 2021, 2021 around about 66 ruck contests a game for, I believe, if we just do it correctly, around about 30 hit-outs per game. And if you look at the Melbourne, he was in 2023, it was around 20 hit-outs a game. So it was a number one ruck, sort of number one ruck in 2021. He was mostly a number one ruck. With this is around the split that I expect with McLean to have with him, and Amati as well. He had around 10 points of upsides in just hit-outs alone. So he has got 10 points of upside in just hit-outs alone. And then you also look at it as well, and now this is where the big kicker comes in, that Sydney have roughly 200 to 300 hit-outs more per season on average just because of the ground. Now, if you look at that per game, that's roughly around 10 to 15 hit-outs per game, ruck contest per game, not hit-outs, ruck contest per game, and he's winning, if you look at it right now, around about half his hit-outs per game in that sense. If we look at this one in 2023, he was winning around 48%. Say we give him 4 more points just because of the Sydney effect, he's already a plus 15 around about that range, just if he gets back to his 2021 form, or 2022 form, in fact. So he's around a plus 15 just on hit-outs alone. And then we get to the fact that he's not just going to get hit-outs. He's going to get more disposals. He's going to get, he's got a hit-outs to advantage, something like that, or he gets the clearance something like 8% of the time. If you take that and you get another 20 ruck contests or something like that, you get something like another 2 or 3 disposals for him in itself, which that itself is around 6 to 10 points. So already just looking at the numbers, if he gets back to his 2021 form or his 2022 form or something like that, we're already talking about 25 points of upside. So that's why he is so highly owned, is because even if you say that he was washed in 2021 or 2022 or even 2023, you look at his percentages for hitouts and stuff like that, and the way the Sydney ground is smaller, so leading to more ruck contests, he should be 25 point upside. He should be a 100 player just being at the Swans. And so I reckon he could easily go 105, which is 30 points of upside. And 30 points of upside is ridiculous at the ruck roll. So yeah, I really, really like the look of Brodie Grundy. Then the last guy we get to talk about, and I know this is run for 23 minutes, so it's going to be a long one, is Angus Sheldrick. 7 games, 62. Take out the 2 poor games that he had, and let me do the maths here. I believe I did the maths, so I need to look down at my screen because it is a bunch of words, but I'm trying to find the maths that I have for it. The only problem I have with, as you can see here, it's become evident, Sheldrick is a log jammed behind Rowbottom, Taylor Adams now. When Mills comes back, he's back there. Parker, not Gordon, Warner himself. There's like 6 guys there that are already ahead of him. I don't know what position James Jordan's going to play, but the problem with here is that he needs to play Sheldrick. He needs to play. So he needs to get in there. And I think he can break that sort of that 6-man big Swans midfield that they have there. It would just be a problem of what's his sort of role going to look like. Because if you take out that 18 and that 8, he's he's priced at 56. He's not even priced at 62.4. So he's priced at 56, which is already 6 points of upside with just his sub affected numbers. So then if you take out the 46 alongside, so if you take out the sub 8, I believe he goes up to a 71, I want to say. So if we go 7 times 62.4 equals 437, 437 minus the 8 equals that, divide that by 6, he goes up to a 71.5. If you times that by 6 and then you take out the other 18 game, and then you divide it by the 5 other games that he would have played, he is an 82.2 scorer. And then if you take out the 46, times that back by 5, and then take out the injury affected 46, and then you divide that by 4, you get a 91.25. So he is potentially, if he went on this run here, this 79, 82, 111, 193, what did we say? Average of, I have it at 94, but so it's in the 90s, I can tell you that. So that just is so valuable. But he's 513k, I believe. So the only problem I have with Sheldrick, is he 513? I want to say he's 513. Sheldrick 513k. So the only problem I have with Sheldrick is that you have Adams, Grundy, Sheldrick, and Jordan that are potential mid prices that you can use from their round 0 score. And the only problem I have is that you can only really have 2 guys, because if you have 3, you're starting to use more rookies and really not having the premiums. And when you go too many mid prices, so the only problem I have is you can only really have 2 of them. So who's it going to be? It's probably going to be Grundy, just because he's so underpriced. And are you going to grab up Sheldrick for that sort of M5, M6? I would say M5. Are you going to use Sheldrick there, or are you going to use Adams at that F3, F4 range, or are you going to use Jordan at that F4, F5 range? So it'll be interesting to see what people do, but that is sort of the rundown of what the Swans are going to look like AFL fantasy-wise for 2024. I hope that I think the frames per second were a decent across the whole video. But that's sort of my rundown of what they're going to look like. I hope I was able to add a little bit more in terms of how they're going to line up with that log jam, especially with those contested bulls it looks like we're going to have this year. But also just the massive upside potential that Grundy has. And I probably have overstated it with a little bit of bias there, but I do generally think he is going to be a triple figure type player. So anyway, that is the video. This will come out on the 3rd or whatever. And you'll have the St Kilda Saints on the 4th, and then so on. But that is the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.